Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. Tonight, we are recapping the week's nerdy news from Belle Reve Prison to Battle World and everywhere in between. My name is Mike Gibson. With me, as always, is Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
Well, not much. Not much at all. Not comics, not anything. There's no news whatsoever. Nothing happened. Oh wait, no, that's just because I was out of town all weekend doing things that weren't comic and nerd related. Scratch that.
Well,
I'm very nerd related.
Pretty nerd related.
Not the nerds we're talking about related. For anyone,
yeah.
What's that?
I was gonna say it's a different part of the comic book store.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So
yeah, a different wall.
If anyone likes to walk past the board game section of your local comic shop, I would highly recommend PAX Unplugged. Me and a couple friends have been going since 2018, and it's still enjoyable every goddamn time.
Wow, I didn't know you went that often.
Yep.
Or
yeah, it's turned into an annual trip. So.
Wow, that's cool. Cool. Yeah. So Steve, you're not wrong. There wasn't like a ton of news, and two of the big things that we're going to talk about happened today. That I saw. Right. I saw these stories pop up today.
I got one on here that you missed.
Maybe yesterday. Did I miss?
Yeah.
It's totally fine. I welcome it. You just gonna plug it in?
Yeah, we'll plug it in. Shove it in wherever it goes.
Okay. Yeah, because I felt there was mostly I was checking out the week. It was mostly small things or things. I was like, I don't know if we even need to talk about this. This is not even a big deal. But yeah, a couple things dropped today. We're gonna talk some Marvel. We're gonna talk some Star Wars. We're gonna talk some DC. The DCU. The DCU is here, folks. I don't believe Steve has had the time to watch it, but I have seen the first two episodes of Creature Commandos. Going to give a spoiler-free reaction and review to that. Possibly talk some Skeleton Crew at the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
Send some people away if they haven't seen it yet. Do comics and everything. First of all, I have to say that speaking of comics, this show is brought to you by Funky Town Comics and Vinyl in Camillus, New York. I was there for quite some time the other day, and I bought a couple Christmas presents for my son, for my brother-in-law. I flipped through almost every record they have in that place, and they've got a lot.
They do.
A lot of good stuff.
Yeah. I thought you were just saying they have a lot of records, because they do have a lot of records.
They do have a lot. And a lot of it is good. I have a lot of comics, too. I flipped through a lot of comics as well. I was taking my time.
I haven't had a good long trip down there to flip through the bins in a bit.
Well, my wife and I are making a push to be done with Christmas shopping way earlier than we normally are, and we're very close. But normally we're pretty good, but there's always the week before. It's oh, we still got to get those gift cards or whatever. We got to go out and get one last thing. We don't want to do that this year. We want to be done.
Yeah.
So I walked into Funky Town being I'm not leaving here without something for my brother-in-law. So I was just combing the place. So I spent a good hefty amount of time there. Yeah,
there you go.
Chatting up with Jesse and having a good old time. But yeah, you should check them out if you haven't. In Camillus, New York, Funky Town Comics and Vinyl. Great stuff, great place, great people. And they sponsor this podcast. Thank you for that very much. I guess I'll say up top, if you are in the Syracuse, New York area and you're looking for something to do this Saturday night, my band, The Action, is playing a holiday spectacular show at a little place called Funk and Waffles in the city of Syracuse.
It is always spectacular. This will be my first time missing it in a good long bit.
Oh, no, you're going to miss it? No.
Yeah, we got our 10-year anniversary is Friday, and trying to get babysitters 2 days in a row is going to be a little tight.
Sorry to hear that.
Technically 3, because, not in a row, but Monday is my band, the Camillus Community Band, performing our winter spectacular. So
that's true. I'll be there.
I also would need a babysitter of some sort for that. And yeah,
well,
we're running short on babysitters. Let's put it that way.
I think the solution is to cancel whatever you have planned for your 10-year anniversary and come to see my show instead.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I love you, Mike, as a vocalist, but those performing off Broadway, the Lion King, are taking my ears this weekend.
Okay. All right. Well, you have fun, Steve. Go see Steve. You're in the production of The Lion King, is what you're saying? Go see Steve perform in The Lion King.
100%.
And then come see me perform with my band on Saturday.
Quitting my job as an environmental scientist to go tour with The Lion King. It's fine. Nothing to see here. It's perfectly normal.
That'd be incredible. That'd be incredible. Well, Steve, we got all that stuff out of the way. Anything else you wanted to talk about up top?
No, I think
audio's going good this week.
Seems like it.
Rolling and sounding good.
Yeah. I mean, everything looks good on the charts. If anyone's listening and it doesn't sound good, let us know.
Let us know.
Looks like Richard, our in the chat, is driving from Sacramento to LA, which is definitively not our coast. And he said he's going to catch the rewind. So we'll see what happens there.
Wow. Thanks for tuning in from so far away there, Richard. Appreciate it. Well, then I guess we should just jump in to a story. I don't really know how I feel about it.
No,
Steve,
okay,
I just
yeah.
don't.
All right.
I just don't know. And I'm interested to see how you feel about it. And this is a report coming from Variety. Remember the show Viva Variety on Comedy Central? Did you ever watch that one?
I do.
In the late 90s?
Yep.
It was a weird show.
That is an accurate statement.
I don't think I fully understood it, but I think I would really love it now if I watched like reruns of it. I do know that they had great bands on. I remember seeing like Real Big Fish and They Might Be Giants and stuff. Like they had like
it definitely. I think it was right for its time, but we weren't at the age where we appreciated it fully at that point.
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Right. Because it was like a parody of crazy variety shows. I don't think I realized that it was a parody. I thought that it was like a real thing.
Right.
So I didn't get it.
Right.
I was a dumb kid. I'm just like, when did They Might Be Giants come on? Whatever, this is stupid. Anyway, Variety, not Viva Variety, just regular Variety, is reporting that Mr. Chris Evans is going to be returning to the MCU. He will be reportedly joining his former castmate, Robert Downey Jr., in Avengers Doomsday. Now, we know that Robert Downey Jr. is returning to Avengers Doomsday not as Tony Stark, Iron Man, but as Dr. Doom. So there's no word on who Chris Evans will be playing. Will he be playing good old Stevie Raji? That's his name, right?
Yeah.
Stevie Raji.
Yes, that's the colloquial pronunciation. Yeah.
Either like Steve Rogers from another timeline or old man Steve Rogers that we see at the end of Avengers Endgame. Or just a completely different character.
Is he playing Johnny Storm again? Jr.?
Is he playing Johnny Storm again?
Who knows?
You don't know.
He's already played it. He's already reprised the role once, so.
True. But he didn't quite walk away from that.
No, he did not.
So, spoilers. So, I mean, yeah, it's a multiverse, so it could be any infinite number of versions of Chris Evans's Human Torches or Captain America's.
I mean, inherently, if RDJ is going to be Doom, does that mean he's going to be Red Skull?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Is he going to come back as a villain or a radically different character? I don't know. Avengers Doomsday scheduled to hit theaters May 1st, 2026, with the second part, Secret Wars, to follow the following year. Being directed by the Russo brothers, who directed many an MCU film, including Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. So they know how to do the big team-up movies pretty well. As someone who just rewatched both of those movies, I was pretty... Yeah, I said last week, I've been down on the MCU, admittedly. So much so that I kind of forgot how great some of those movies really are. Infinity War is excellent. Endgame is very good. So rewatching those, I guess, gave me a little bit more hope for Avengers Doomsday. Because I was like, oh, if they can do this. And it is one of the writers of Infinity and Endgame, right? Isn't it being written by McFeely? No, directed by the...
Yeah. It's McFeely and...
I don't know if it's both of them. I think
Is
it's,
it?
but I think it's one of them. Yeah, if you can look it up.
Yeah.
Look it up real quick if you don't mind. But because that team's getting back together, I was like, well, they did this. They pulled this off pretty flawlessly. So maybe they can make something out of Doomsday, or they know what they're doing at least. The difference here for me is that the MCU phases 1 through 3 seemed like it was a more solid build-up and a more solid, straightforward kind of like
Right.
plot was already, gears were in motion and things were being set up, and we knew it was going to be Thanos and the Infinity Stones, and they just had to like tell that story. Multiverse Saga seems to be all over the place, and there's no like direct through line. Now, I know some people claim to have found through lines and things that are there. I have
Accidental
not.
happenstance.
It could be accidental happenstance. They could be looking way harder than me. But the thing was, from phase 1, 2, and 3, you didn't have to look that hard. They were telling you exactly what was happening and what we were building to. They were telling you that in no uncertain way. So how, like, we got Thunderbolts, we got Captain America 4, and what's the third one that's coming out before Doomsday? Or is there not one?
Four?
Fantastic Four, yeah, of course. Fantastic
I
Four.
was like, you didn't mention that, right?
No. So we have those 3 movies, and I don't know what those 3 movies are going to pull from the rest of the, initial multiverse saga, but those 3 movies seemingly have to lay some groundwork to whatever we're going to be building to in Avengers Doomsday.
Yeah.
And is that enough?
Which inherently is a precursor to Secret Wars. Like,
right.
There's got to be the setup for, and hence your, inclusion of Battleworld in the intro. There's got to be some sort of setup for how we're getting to some semblance of whatever they're going to interpret Secret Wars as.
Yeah, right. Because I feel like if those 3 movies aren't gonna lay any groundwork, or maybe it's gonna be mostly spill out from Fantastic Four. I don't know. Maybe Fantastic Four is really shouldering the burden here. But it just seems like if they don't do any like build up like that, then Avengers Doomsday is going to have to do a lot of it itself, which in turn will end up kind of being like a bit of a sweaty movie. And that's kind of what I was expecting Infinity War to be, because I hadn't seen it in years. And when I went back to it, I was like, oh, this is going to be cluster. And it totally is not. It like moves really quick. Like I said, I think I said when I was talking about it last week, like everyone's objectives are like really clear. Their motivations are really clear. We know the relationships, everything's there. And they just got to move forward with this story. And I'm hoping that it's the same way. I mean, they still have to deal with the fact that we have to figure out why Robert Downey Jr. is Dr. Doom, or why Dr. Doom looks like Tony Stark. Like, that's like some stuff they'll have to play with. I'm just hoping that this team with proven success will be able to figure out a way to do that. So that was a whole lot of not talking about Chris Evans returning, just to kind of the MCU in general. Steve, what do you think of Chris Evans coming back to the MCU? I guess it's kind of maybe a hard question to answer since we don't know who he's really playing. But what do you think about it?
I mean, it's the same thing as with everything. If they do it right, it's fine. If they don't, then it's a money grab. That's a cop out. Like, I don't think like we're gonna keep seeing more and more of these too. Like, it's not just going to be RDJ and Evans. It's going to be whoever they can write up a check to get back.
Right.
Because they think, and this is just me spitting out loud, they probably think that that's what's drawing the people there, instead of what actually is, in that they had a good setup, good movie, good script, like
good story.
Yeah, we're able to make a entertaining piece of, cinema. Yeah. The thing that struck me about Endgame as I was rewatching it was, like, again, it's incredibly well done. It's not as action packed as Infinity War. It doesn't move as fast as Infinity War. It's more there's a lot of plot they have to get through. It's more like emotional ties and character stuff, which is great. But it lacks a little bit if you haven't just watched the previous 20-something movies, it loses a little bit of its punch, I thought. But I still thought it was really well done.
But to me, it really jumped out at me. I was like, oh, this is where everyone at Marvel got the idea that, oh, people really want to see multiple timelines and different versions of characters, because that's where that all started, was the time travel in Endgame and going back into different timelines and seeing things happening a different way. And now this has changed. Now this reality is this, and now this reality is branching off. Like, that all started with Endgame.
Right. It did.
And I
but
think that's
they
where they
also,
we're putting all our chips in on this. It's worked at Endgame, and now this is where we're going. It really felt like that to me rewatching it.
It did, but then the difference is it was well done in that. Like, yes, that's where they put all their chips in, and that's where the plot of the movie was, but it also wasn't. It made sense.
Yeah, no, I meant that because it worked in Endgame, I think that made them be like, oh, people love this. We're going all in on multiverse, different timeline stuff.
Right, and I think I'm agreeing
Yeah.
with you in the sense that
Okay.
like in Endgame it worked because it made sense and they made a good movie. And it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
working in the multiverse saga because they're not
it's all over the
fleshing
place.
it out. It's right. There's too many threads to unravel, which
The Wild West.
inherently the too many threads to unravel, if they'd have utilized that, like there's your premise for the multiverse saga, but they didn't. So here we are.
Right. Would you prefer that he come back as Steve Rogers, or would you prefer that he come back as a new character?
I'd prefer he didn't come back at all.
Oh, wow.
I hate this recast people. Like, do shit that's different.
Here's how I would take him back.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to do this. I think he should be super old Steve Rogers, but should be like the Nick Fury. He should be like the director of the Avengers or something, but or like Batman Beyond, where like old Bruce Wayne is just in the cave giving orders, give me old man Chris Evans with a headset standing next to Nick Fury at SHIELD headquarters or whatever, like giving orders to the team in the field. Like, I'll take that.
Oh, the other thing, I mean, Chip Zdarsky recently did a run on Avengers called Avengers Twilight that was literally all of the Avengers as old men and them teaming back up with their old man limitations to, fight to save things again from Red Skull and Tony Stark's grandson. And it was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Like, and also that's out in trade now. It was a 6-issue mini. Check it out if you get a chance. It's really good.
Yeah, you loved it when it was happening.
Yeah, I mean, Zdarsky, when he's on, he's on. Like when he's cashing a paycheck, he's cashing a paycheck. But when he is on, he is on.
Right, man.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, cool. Well, there's your news. Chris Evans coming back. We'll follow up, obviously, when we learn more about that. Moving on to Star Wars. I'm really excited about this, Steve. You don't know the details of this story at all?
No, the only thing I saw was literally what you have in the rundown.
Great. Okay. You ever seen The Bear? FX's The Bear?
Yeah.
I have not. I've heard it's great. I've heard it's really good.
I got through 2 episodes and it was fine. I just never got back to it.
Okay. Well, Jeremy Allen White, star of FX's The Bear, has been cast in Mandalorian and Grogu, the next Star Wars movie that we shall see May 22nd, 2026. Directed by Jon Favreau from a script that he co-wrote with Dave Filoni. Jeremy Allen White will be playing
and this is
a certain character that Steve doesn't know.
The hesitation here is because Mike literally texted me before the show and said, have you seen this? Don't look at this. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there holding my bassoon at band practice.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I think I'm good. I don't think I'm going to check it out.
Is he playing a bassoon?
Right.
Because otherwise, I'm not going to.
If he's not playing sheet music, I got nothing.
Yeah. Steve, I want you to guess who you think Jeremy Allen White is playing in Mandalorian and Grogu. And I will give you a hint, because there's a vast amount of characters to choose from. Okay?
Yeah.
Prequel era character.
Okay. Force user or non?
To my knowledge, non-Force user.
Okay.
Any guesses just based on that?
Prequel?
It's hard to narrow it down further than that and not give it away.
Planet?
Okay,
or
I'll
that
say
I
that
would associate
not humanoid. Not like a human.
Okay, not humanoid or not a human.
I mean, I guess define
Humanoid would
but-
be like that's usually the upright bipedal with a different head type.
okay, yeah, no, neither of those things.
Um,
I'll
I'm putting
narrow.
I'm putting two and two together because I saw something different about who I think it might be.
I can narrow it down even further if you want one more hint.
Do they look like a slug?
They sure do, Steve.
And were they in the Clone Wars movie?
Yes, they were. Jeremy Allen White will be playing the son of Jabba the Hutt, whose name is Rata the Hutt, or Rata.
Stinky himself.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would
if you never have gotten that. I had pieced two things together because I had heard that someone was like that. Rata the Hutt was back in Mandalorian and Grogu.
Oh, okay.
And it just clicked when you said that. I was like, oh, okay. Now I got it.
Yes. For those of you who have seen the cinematic masterpiece that is the 2008 animated Clone Wars movie, which was 4 episodes of the Clone Wars TV series re-edited into a movie. Not always the best decision to do that.
Nope.
You may know that Rata the Hutt, Jabba's son, was kidnapped by the Count Dooku, more or less, right? He gave the order.
Yeah, Asajj was the
Ventress kidnapped him. Yeah. And then rescued, long story short, rescued by Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano, returned to Jabba on Tatooine. And then we find out that the kidnapping was really orchestrated by Jabba's uncle or nephew?
Nephew, I think.
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero the Hutt, who is an insane character who, of course, goes on to be executed by Cy Snoodles, his girlfriend. Those are all things that happen in Clone Wars.
It got weird.
You know who Cy Snoodles is? Cy Snoodles is the weird frog-like dancing woman with long legs and a long mouth in Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi. Anyway, Jeremy Allen White is playing a Hutt. Is playing a grown-up version of Rata the Hutt.
Mm-hmm. Zero's Rata's great uncle, for the record. It's Jabba's uncle.
Okay. Jabba's uncle. Oh, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So now, for those of you who haven't seen the Clone Wars, I mean, before I go into this is weird, right?
Yeah, it's very weird.
Okay. It's really weird.
I guess, I don't know. Is it any more weird than like Daniel Craig playing a stormtrooper or whatever? Because it's not like Jeremy Allen, or it's not like he's going to have any lines that are spoken in any language.
Well, here, Steve, this is what I was just going to say. Zero the Hutt speaks English.
Actually, yeah, Zero does speak basic. All right.
Basic. You're right. Sorry.
We just
Zero the Hutt speaks basic. And although I think it's very strange for a giant space slug to be speaking English.
Yeah.
Stranger things have happened, but he's also the only Hutt that speaks basic, that speaks English. Right?
Yeah. I mean, that we hear, right? Did we?
I think everything else is always subtitles.
Right. Everything else is
I
in
prefer.
Huttese and subtitles.
I prefer a Huttese speaking Hutt. So my question to you, Steve, do you think that the general public, the non-entrenched Star Wars people, are ready to accept a live action Hutt that speaks English?
I can say they definitely wouldn't have been ready for Zero in live action.
No.
Possibly more so for Rata, but I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
I think the outside of the dozens of us that enjoyed the Clone Wars, yeah, all anyone hears is Huttese when they see a giant space slug.
Yeah. I think the minute that it opens its mouth and understandable words start coming out, people
Right.
might be like, "What the hell is this?" But weirder things have happened, especially in Star Wars. Like there are times in Star Wars where there are plenty of times in Star Wars, I should say, where I would prefer that an alien be speaking in an alien language, and yet it's speaking basic. So could just be another one of those times.
Yeah.
I also don't know how big this role is. But it's strange to me to cast any human in the role of a Hutt, but then also to cast an actor as well known and as popular as Jeremy Allen White. Like you're paying this dude good money. So that makes me think he does have speaking lines. That's why I'm thinking that he's going to talk. But it's very strange to me that you just get a voice actor. I don't know. Is he going to do motion capture for a slug? What is this going to be?
Are they always slugs? I don't know. Yeah, they always are. Never mind.
They
Because he
always
was
are.
a slug.
Yeah, we saw him as a baby.
Oh, you know what I'm thinking of? Do you remember as Morrigan from Clone Wars or from Rebels?
I know that name. Remind me of who they are.
Like fat pig looking.
Yeah.
Pointy ears. That was the original Ralph McQuarrie design for Hutts.
Oh.
So Rebels reused a lot of McQuarrie's original designs for other species, and I remember at one point that was what was being like used for the Hutts. That's what I was thinking of when I said, do they walk, or like are they always slugs?
Right.
Alas, they are.
They are.
Because also Zeb Aurelios was the original design for Wookiees.
For Wookiees, yeah. Yep.
So that was supposed to be true.
And there is one episode where they use the original design for 3PO as like a assassin droid or something kind of.
Oh, nice. Yeah, they did a pretty good job of reusing a lot of that. Yeah. Apparently the entire.
I agree.
I just looked it up. Apparently the entire design of Lothal was based on some of McQuarrie's concepts.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the Star Wars news. Jeremy Allen White is playing Rada the Hutt, which I think is strange. And this just might be, who knows, it might work. Or this might be another thing where we realize some things work better in animation than they do in live action. We'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll find
As long as no one is CGI'd in stepping on their tails, we should be okay.
Oh my God.
Still hate that scene.
So bad.
Like there are plenty of things that the special editions did right, like flesh out Mos Eisley and stuff like that.
Sure.
That scene, not one of them.
Awful. Anyway, let's move on. Let's stop talking about Star Wars. Talk about some DCU. The DCU. It's here. It's happening.
Yeah.
We're in it. We've started. It's happening right now. It could be happening to you. You could stop listening to this and you should go watch Creature Commandos right now, and it could be happening to you in front of your face. It's right there.
It is not in front of my face yet.
It has been in front of mine.
And before I forget to mention it today, in 2 days, you can watch the Lord of the Rings in your ear holes, eye holes, whatever. That version of animation of a beloved franchise. So we've got all the animation coming out.
Wait, you say 2 days? It's coming out
3 days. It's this week.
Oh, Thursday? It is. It's the end of this week, right?
Yeah.
War of the Rohirrim?
Yes.
I thought that was the 13th.
It's the 13th, but you can always go the day, but they always have it the day
before. Oh, wait,
before.
no. It is. I'm a complete fool. You're right. It is the 13th. But I do believe that they start showing things on Thursdays.
Right. I've never understood that, and that's one of those pet peeves of mine of like, just announce it the day you're actually going to put it in theaters.
Right. Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
If you're going to start showing it Thursday, then say it comes out Thursday. Don't say it comes out Friday.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's right. I forgot that was happening. And have you seen a trailer for it? I saw a trailer for it. I should have put that on the rundown.
I didn't.
Was that a thing that I forgot?
No, that wasn't what I was thinking.
Did we stop and watch the trailer and then come back? Probably not.
I think that only happens when the trailer drops literally in the middle of the episode.
While we're recording. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's happened once for
exactly one
No
time.
Way Home?
In over 3 years. Yes, it was No Way Home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Quick sidebar: Lord of the Rings: War of the Rohirrim anime film comes out this Friday,
With Brian
and
Cox as Hal Hammerhand.
yeah,
Every time I say that, it still confuses me, and I'm
Yeah.
here for it.
I saw one really short trailer. Ugh, excuse me.
Oh,
I
hold
thought it
on.
looked good.
Hold on.
It is very
Things I didn't
What?
realize. Miranda Otto
Yeah.
is voice acting Eowyn, who
yeah.
was
She reprises her
Eowyn.
role.
That's
She
awesome.
reprises her role as Eowyn. I believe Dominic Monaghan and guy played Pippin are in it too, but not
Oh,
as
nice.
Merry and Pippin. They're like just. I think there are other Lord of the Rings.
Christopher Lee also posthumously voices Saruman. Didn't
Yeah,
we talk about
which-
that
so
at one
they-
point?
No, I don't know that we did.
Maybe we
But
did.
they must just be taking like recorded like lines that he said in the Lord of the Rings movies, right? And reusing them.
Could be.
Yeah, interesting. Definitely anime. Definitely in a anime style that I didn't immediately love. Doesn't mean I won't enjoy watching the movie if I get used to it. But yeah, very interesting. It looks cool. It looks action packed from the trailer that I saw. And I didn't really, like I said, it was a short trailer, and it didn't really give too much like plot or really much anything away at all. But it just looks like Lord of the Rings.
That
it's
actually
in an
makes me
anime
feel
style.
better about it. Like, I
Yeah.
think we've had that discussion many times. If you see a trailer that doesn't tell you anything, but it still looks cool,
Yeah.
that's probably better than if they're like giving things away and giving hooks away.
Yo, I saw a great trailer today that gave a little too much away.
Yeah.
But what was it? The Gorge might have been the name of it. It's like an Apple TV original movie. I don't know if it's going to be theatrically released. But it's Scott Derrickson, who's like a
Yeah.
well-known horror. And what's the woman that played? She's in the Queen's Gambit. She played Magic in New Mutants.
Anya
Anya
Taylor-Joy?
Taylor-Joy. Anya Taylor-Joy, Miles Teller, and I believe I saw Sigourney Weaver.
So all of the
And they're like
actors at present.
Yeah. They're like the two of them are like two assassins that are somehow stationed on either side of this like gorge, and they're supposed to not. They don't know what's in the gorge, but they're directed to not let it out. And I think eventually they go down there. I don't know. It was just really cool. It was like I didn't know what it was, and it kind of seemed to turn into a bit of a monster movie. I don't know. Looks really cool.
Oh.
So yeah, Lord of the Rings. Blah 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 blah.
Initial reviews on this are not looking great.
Oh, there's like reactions and reviews out there for
Yeah.
Rohirrim?
From Cinema Blend, there's a couple that are floating in the C-ish range. Not great, but we'll see. I'll probably end up seeing it anyways because that's me.
Yeah, I would like to see it. I don't know that I'll see it in the theater. It was coming out not in December. December's
stuff.
packed.
Do we even know what it's rated?
No. Oh, PG-13.
Okay.
It's PG-13. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, because like Sebastian, now that he's interested in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, I was like, oh, that'd be cool. Nope. Never mind.
Yeah, my son does some PG-13 stuff now, but
yeah,
I can't just take him in blind
right
without knowing anything about it.
I think the only PG-13 so far my son has seen is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and that's primarily because I went into it not realizing it was PG-13.
It was PG-13, yeah.
I was like, oh, Ghostbusters, yeah. I remember that cartoon. Oh,
right.
And then if you go back and watch the original Ghostbusters, you're like, yeah, how did this get a PG rating? Oh, yeah, it's the 80s.
It's 80s, and it's kind of Bill Murray's character is not the best. He's kind of like a predator.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
like,
no, not great, Bob. Not great.
Yeah. Last time I watched it, I was like, I don't know that I think this is funny anymore. Crazy for me because I used to love that movie so much, but
yeah,
I was like, I don't think I should show this to my son and tell them that it's funny and that he should be laughing at this because he's a creep. Anyway, DCU, hooray. The first 2 episodes of Creature Commandos dropped this past week. New episodes come out Thursdays. I believe there's 7 episodes total. As we know from the trailers, it's a very violent, R-rated show. That is very true. Evident in the first 2 episodes of the series. Now, I don't want to spoil anything, but I like the show a lot. It didn't completely like blow me away, but I liked it a lot. It felt like a James Gunn thing. Felt like Guardians, felt like Suicide Squad. You know, a team of misfits that don't really get along with each other, being forced to work with each other. These are specifically monsters and not,
Right.
you know, human beings or powered human beings. And the first one is definitely like a setup. You know, there's action in it. It's fun and it's funny. But the second one is where you start getting the like, oh, there is some emotion here and there is some depth to these characters and to this world. And I don't know if this is going to continue, but like, you know, the first episode, like I said, was kind of like setup and some action and let's get you on your mission. And then the second episode was more mission, but intercut with flashbacks on a certain character, the character of the bride. And like, so you find out like her kind of origin or why she is the way she is, how her relationship is with different members of the team or whatever, and why, in a way that really kind of drew me in to that character and wanting to know more about her and the other characters on the team. And yeah, it's very good.
Nice.
Let's see. Rick Flag Sr., Frank Grillo's great. We get a little bit of the Frankenstein. He's not really in it much until the second episode, and he's mostly in the flashbacks. Dr. Phosphorus is great. He's very funny. G.I. Robot.
Yeah.
Big fan of G.I. Robot. Just stands around, just wants to kill Nazis all the time. It's just like hoping that someone tells him to start killing Nazis. Like, it's very funny.
I did see down at PAX this weekend, I did see someone that just had a black shirt that in pink block letters, effectively the Star Wars like lettering, that outline lettering, just said "Punch Nazis."
Awesome.
And I walked up to him and was like, "I love your shirt."
Yeah.
Like,
nice.
Good job, sir.
Yeah. Like there was a scene where one character and standing next to G.I. Robot, and they're looking out on over a balcony over this like beautiful countryside, and I can't remember who the other character was, said like, "Isn't this beautiful?" And G.I. Robot looks out and says, "I do not enjoy landscapes devoid of dead Nazis." It was like, awesome. This guy's great.
There we
go.
go.
See him cut loose a little bit. And they are also, I saw there was a trailer for like, you know, this season on Creature Commandos, and you know, they showed some characters. I think Superman was in there. Like there was like, there's going to be some big cameos, I think, in this season.
Oh, really? All right.
Yeah, and I've heard Sergeant Rock is going to be in it also. Not necessarily voiced by Daniel Craig. He might be one of the characters that they weren't able to cast before they had to make this show. You know,
Right.
But you know, it's certainly it's an interesting starting point for the DCU. But it's very good, and so far it's pretty strong, and it's definitely like standing on its own. Like you can tell that this isn't trying to launch a universe on its own. It's not trying to set up stories for movies or anything like that. It's telling a specific story. But if these characters are going to be like the foundation, or if this is the world that all these characters are going to live in, it's great so far.
Right.
One thing I really like about it, and it's going to sound weird, but one thing I really like about it is that it has like there's sex in it. And
you're
like,
right.
not like,
You're right. This sounds weird.
Yeah.
The good
but
thing about
not-
the animated show is that there's sex in it. Okay.
Well, it's not like you know, it's not pornography. It's not
Right.
graphic or anything. But like, it's just like you don't see a lot of sexual attraction or interaction in a lot of genre stuff or like superhero stuff in general. Like, you know, the MCU is criticized a lot for being completely sexless. There's no like tension or romance really
Right.
most of the time. And, you know, Star Wars gets that flack too. And I was thinking, I was watching it like, this is crazy. And you don't see this. And it's just, it made me think like, well, this is something that DC is going to do clearly and can do. That Marvel's owned by Disney. They're never going to do this.
Yeah.
We're never going to see what I just saw in a cartoon on Disney Plus. Like that's just never going to happen. And it really like we're not going to see that in Superman. You know what I mean? So it speaks to what James Gunn has said a bunch of times about how he wants these projects to feel different, and if it makes sense to be R-rated, then it's going to be R-rated. If it makes sense to be G, then it's going to be G. But these characters get down, so that's happening in an R-rated show. Like it was just it stuck out to me as being
more
it's felt like more like alive, and they can do more things with these characters, and they can have more interactions. It's just like another thing. I was like, oh, this is great. This is really cool. They're going there. Check it out. Big fan of it so far. I can't wait for more. I know I started by saying that it didn't knock me out of the park, and I ended it by saying big fan of it. And I don't know. Both those things can be true.
No, they can. And that's,
yeah.
That's some nuance that I think gets lost on a lot of people, in that something may not be the best thing since sliced bread, but there can be a lot of good things about it.
Yeah.
On the flip side,
absolutely,
things can be hot trash like Rise of Skywalker, but still have decent points to them.
Yep.
We're nearing my annual rewatch. So.
Oh yeah, can't wait. I watched Solo the other night.
Yeah.
Last night actually, and I'm like a nobody on social media, pretty much, especially Threads. I feel like most things I post on Threads, if they get a like, they get like 10 or less likes. 10 is like a big day for me. I just randomly posted, I think I said like, I fucking love Solo, a Star Wars story. It's so Star Warsy and great. # Star Wars. It's got like 150 likes on it and like tons of comments and stuff. Like I blow up on Threads when I talk about Star Wars on Threads.
Apparently. Yeah, it seems to.
But what's
weird?
weird?
To be the recurring theme.
What's weird with Star Wars fans? I'm sure not just Star Wars fans, but if you say that you like a movie, it opens the door for people to use what you said about liking a movie as a way to shit on other movies that they don't like. And as many comments as I got was like, yeah, me too, it's great. And, supportive, like, yeah, Solo, it's way underrated. It's really good. I got also a lot of comments that were like, well, it's way better than the rest of those sequels. Yeah, it's all the other dog shit Disney puts out is so bad. I'm like, yo, don't use my fandom as a way to shit on something else. Like, I'm not talking about those other movies. I'm talking about this one.
Right.
It's just annoying. Just annoying. Annoying.
Oh,
anyway, things that are not annoying so far. James Gunn's DCU. James Gunn was on the podcast Happy, Sad, Confused. That's a pretty good podcast when talking about pop culture and genre movies and stuff. That guy asks good questions. The people that you and I care about. I never actually listened to it, but you got to step away?
Yeah, I got to take the furry one outside.
Okay. I will talk through this whole thing all by myself, and it'll be fine. Ready? I'm flying solo. All right. So yeah, James Gunn was on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast this week. And obviously it was to promote Creature Commandos, which he did. But obviously the host is going to ask him, Josh Horowitz, the host is going to ask him a lot about the rest of his DCU and his plans. And there's a couple things that I found very interesting. And he kind of talks about, he's asked about kind of his plans for the DCU in general, and he said, we can do anything with these characters. Part of the goal from the beginning was to be able to give the honor to the great character, give the honor that the great characters deserve, the Wonder Womans, the Batmans, the Supermans, but also to prop up these lesser known characters, Peacemaker, Booster Gold, the Huntress, or whomever, to give them a platform as well. Now, we know he's doing stuff with Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman. We know he's doing Peacemaker. We know he's doing Booster Gold. Then he said, the Huntress. Do you think he pulled that name right off the top of his head? I don't. I think he's working on a project that includes the Huntress. And I'm excited because I love that character. So anyway, that's a little nugget just for me. Be on the lookout for the Huntress to show up in a DCU thing sooner than later. But speaking of Booster Gold, I can't remember if we've said this on this podcast or not, but there has been a rumor floating around for a while that James Gunn is looking at Kumail Nanjiani to play Booster Gold in the Booster Gold series. Kumail Nanjiani is a comedian, improviser. He's been on most recent season of Only Murders in the Building. He was also in Eternals, the MCU film. And I think he would be a good Booster Gold. He's goofy enough, but also a good enough actor to pull it off. James Gunn was asked if there were any truth to Kumail Nanjiani being cast as Booster Gold, and his answer was, "Well, we're not quite there yet. We're not quite there yet on Booster Gold. The scripts aren't quite where I want them to be. We're just not that far yet on Booster Gold." So I took that as a way of talking about it without talking about it. So I think there might be some truth to Kumail Nanjiani being cast as Booster Gold. He also talked a little bit about, he compared world building versus story building in the DCU. And he didn't say this, but I was reminded of the MCU when he talked about story building versus world building. Now he said, we're not story building. We're not just trying to tell you one big long story with a beginning and a middle and an end. We are world building. We are trying to build a universe with different stories happening in different parts of that universe. And I thought that was really interesting, and it lends credibility and credence to the thing he's been saying a million times. Welcome back, Steve.
Hi, how are you?
Did the dog go outside okay?
Yeah. Yep, everything came out
Okay.
great.
And then he came back in? He didn't just run away?
It's true.
Okay, good. Good. About halfway through this James Gunn talking on DCU stuff, he was on this podcast, and he I was telling our loyal listeners, I'll just catch you up real quick, Steve. He was saying, he's talking about world building versus story building. And he says that the DCU, they are world building. They're not trying to just tell a big, long story.
Right.
They're trying to build a whole universe. And he says it's more like Star Wars in that way, where it's a whole universe and there's things happening all over the place that aren't necessarily connected all the time. Like, it's a connected universe, but the stories aren't connected. Like, he's like, we can tell a story about anybody we want. We can tell any story we want about any character that we want. It doesn't have to fit into, it doesn't have to be a building block in a specific story. I thought that was interesting. I really like him comparing it to Star Wars. Makes me kind of excited to think of it like that. He was asked about his Superman movie and said, there's been, or the host said, there's been so much coverage. Like, there's been so much Superman. So much has been covered, better way to say it, with other Superman movies and TV shows. What is left to explore? And James Gunn said, we've never seen the big science fiction Silver Age Superman aspects that we have in our movie. You'll see when the movie comes out, but we've never seen this specific part of Superman's life. Love that. I love, people don't realize how science fiction Superman is. I mean, he's a space alien. He deals with aliens all the time, but it's more than just punching them. He also invents weird gadgets all the time in some Superman stories and stuff. So, like, if that's where we're going, I'm excited about it for sure.
Yeah.
Then the interviewer asked about Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, and James Gunn said, oh yeah, we've also never seen the kind of Lex Luthor that Nick is. You go, oh, poor Superman, which we never see in the films. Sometimes in the comics, you go, oh, Superman's fucked because Lex is so smart and good at what he's doing. But in the movies, you go, oh, Lex is fucked. You'll see now why he's not the person you want to have against you. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love an intimidating, powerful, genius Lex Luthor. Never quite been pulled off, I think.
No, in the movies,
not that
really,
there haven't been. There's been cool versions of him, but they've never really done comic book accurate Lex Luthor. And these last couple questions I thought were very interesting. They're quick. He was asked about Guardians of the Galaxy, and I hadn't thought about this, but the host said, if they make another Guardians of the Galaxy movie, do they have to like credit you as a producer? Is it possible that your name could be on a Marvel movie when you're in charge of DC? He said, I haven't thought about that, but I think you're right. I think they do have to do that.
Yeah.
It should be contractually. It's interesting.
Yeah, he'd have to at least get like executive producer.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
which is wild.
You created this whole thing. You have to get credited for it.
Right. Yeah, but he's Mr. DC now, and
Right.
his name would be on a Marvel movie. It's funny.
Hey, paycheck's a paycheck, man. Paycheck's a paycheck.
Yep. Yep. He also mentioned that at one point he had 2 other Guardians spin-offs that were possibly series in development. One was called Rocket and Groot, which the plot for which basically was turned into Rocket's story in Guardians 3. And there was going to be a thing called the Legendary Star-Lord that was going to be about just Chris Pratt's character, but that didn't end up working out either, or maybe it still could, but not with him. I don't know. Thought that was cool, but that led to the interviewer asking, have there been any... Well, first he said, have you cast anybody in the DCU that we don't know about yet that hasn't been announced?
Okay.
And James Gunn said, yes. And then the interviewer asked, have there been any Guardians actors cast in the DCU? And James Gunn, said, are you talking like signed contracts? Because no. And he was like, no, but like real conversations. And James Gunn said, real conversations? Yes. So we're looking at some Guardians of the Galaxy jumping over the DCU. Obviously, nothing, no roles or anything like that. But that led to the interviewer asking about Dave Bautista playing Bane, which is something that was rumored a long time ago. But they both talked about how Dave Bautista's slimmed down a lot and isn't really a bulky, hulking guy like he used to be. I don't think he really wants to play Bane anymore or is like really suited for it. But then he was asked, so the rumors that are out there about the Deathstroke and Bane project, is that true? And he just didn't answer. It was just a long gap of silence until they made a joke about, oh, we must have lost the connection. I didn't hear what you said. Or, it was like, they turned it into a joke, but he just didn't have an answer, which tells me, yes, something's happening with that Deathstroke and Bane thing.
Right. At least something is going on.
Yeah. Whether that's the movie or they're just in another movie like we talked about,
Right. I think it's probably one of those where he couldn't come up with a witty way to get out of saying whatever couldn't be said.
Yes, exactly.
Because he's usually pretty good thinking on his feet for that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. If he can say stuff, he'll say stuff. But, when he can't, he can't. He also, there's a lot of other talk about Creature Commandos and like Green Lantern and stuff like that he talked about in that podcast. So go listen to last week's episode of the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast. I think it's called James Gunn Part 2. If you want to hear the rest, it was good. A good listen. Now, Steve, you do not have a comic to review tonight. Is that correct?
I do not. I had no ability since I left Thursday morning to get down to Funky Town.
Right. Won't you take me to Funky Town? I have a comic to review.
That was literally going through my head. That's frightening.
Just then when I said that?
Yeah. Yep.
Or when you said that? Wow. Same wavelength, my friend. I am reviewing for you right now Two-Face number 1.
Nice.
New series for Two-Face. I got the Chris Sammy variant cover here. Pretty cool. Two-Face has never had his own book before that I'm aware of. So this is pretty cool. It is written by Christian Ward, who's a great writer and a great artist in his own right. Christian Ward did Aquaman Andromeda and also Batman Mad City. I think that's one you picked up, I think, Steve.
City of Madness?
He's just the writer. And what's that?
Batman City of Madness?
City of Madness. Yeah.
That was the Chris.
I was close.
Jesus, what's his name?
Ward.
Yep,
Christian Ward.
Christian Ward.
You were checked out. He's writing this book. That's how I'm talking about him.
I was looking at at levels and sound stuff, so I apologize.
Well, we need you to do that. So Christian Ward is the writer on this book. Fabio Veras is the artist. Ivan Placencia, colorist. And the colors are wildly good and cool in this book. Hold up another cool page, kind of quick. Wow. They do a quick little origin of Harvey getting scarred. And it kind of drops you right in to a situation. Two-Face is Harvey, or however you want to say. Harvey is the prosecuting attorney, or the defense attorney, I should say, at like a criminal court. But when I say criminal, I don't mean like an actual Gotham City courthouse. Like it's a bunch of criminals that have their own like way of justice, like figuring out, if you commit an offense within their family of
Kind of
criminals. I don't know.
kangaroo
They
party.
don't really. Yeah, they don't really explain it. They just kind of drop you in. But it made sense towards the end. Harvey is defending Mr. Zaz, a very creepy serial killer murderer, which always creeps me out when I'm reading about him. Anytime he shows up, he's a real nasty dude. And I don't want to give anything away, but it kind of sets up. It explains why he's devoting time to doing this underground courtroom stuff. And as all good Two-Face stories are, there's some good inner conflict going on between Harvey, non-scarred side Harvey and scarred side Two-Face. And that inner conflict is being done in a way that I don't remember ever seeing before. And made it interesting to me, because as much as I love Two-Face, I was like, I don't know if this book's going to be good. Like, I don't think he can lead his own book. But the way it's set up worked for me. So I might pick up issue 2 because I want to see what happens. I love Two-Face. I think he's a criminally underused character because it's kind of hard to get him away from all that like Silver Age, I'm obsessed with the number 2 kind of thing, and
Right.
that kind of stuff. But if you give him his own book, you can dive a little bit further into going
What
on
makes
in
him
his
tick?
brain and
Well,
what makes him tick, and
what makes both of them tick?
yeah, and how he's at war with himself,
Yeah.
kind of all the time. So they set up some cool vibes and a seemingly cool story in Two-Face.
No, that'd
Number
be good.
1, check it out. Check it out.
Yeah, I think
This week. Oh, what, you got something?
No, I was just gonna say Harvey's always been one of those characters that, like, on face value, seemed very cut and dry.
Mhm.
And seeing the inner workings, that should be, it should lead to a good story,
Yeah,
especially with Christian
You,
Ward in charge of it.
that's true. You still have to read Long Halloween. I got to bring that.
Yeah.
I'll bring that to you.
Yeah, I'll trade
Yeah.
that for Darth Vader, Charles Soule someday.
Ooh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Great idea. This week in
and
your
then,
local
and
comic
then
book
we actually have to have
store.
time to read books.
That's true. Well, like I said, I've been reading with my son. He's got to read like 15 minutes every night in 3rd grade now. So he's reading for 15 minutes. I'm sitting right next to him. I'm reading volume 3 of John Ostrander's Suicide Squad that I've had on my shelf for like 2 years.
Nice.
Finally getting to it. So I got the time. I'm finding time. I'll read that Darth Vader book.
That works.
This week,
I'll bring it
in your local
tomorrow.
comic book store. Yeah, do it. Wait, what's tomorrow?
Scouts.
Tomorrow's Tuesday.
Tomorrow's not Wednesday.
Correct.
Hi, how are you? Okay,
Tuesday.
back to the show.
Back to the show. This week in your local comic book store, you may find the following books: Action Comics number 1079, Alien Paradiso number 1, Amazing Spider-Man number 63, Batman and Robin number 16, Batman Dark Patterns number 1. It's a new mini series. There was a preview of Dark Patterns in the back of my Two-Face number 1 book. Looked very cool. Super action-packed. Batman Santa Claus Silent Night Returns number 3. Still digging that series so far. Creep Show Holiday Special number 1. Dazzler number 4. DC versus Vampires World War V number 5. FML number 2. I reviewed number 1 a week ago or so, and it was great. Check out number 2. Green Lantern number 18. Incredible Hulk number 20. Infinity Watch number 1. Laura Kinney Wolverine number 1. Phoenix number 6. Scarlet Witch number 7. Star Wars Battle of Jakku Republic Under Siege number 4. Storm number 3. Superwoman Special number 1. Ultimate Universe 1 Year In number 1. Ultimate X-Men number 10. Uncanny X-Men number 7. X-Factor number 5. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man number 1. Steve, are you pulling any of these books?
Pulling, I don't believe so. Well, Uncanny and Ultimate. I'll probably grab Ultimate 1 Year In because why not? They're relaunching Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I did not know about that.
I didn't know about that either, and I don't know if it's tied into because the cartoon is called that, right? That's coming out next year?
I don't know. They've had a couple of different runs that have been labeled as that, and it usually tends to be more of the day-to-day monotony type stuff as opposed to, ASM or whatever they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the last run, I remember a distinct issue where it was him and Johnny Storm helping an old lady. I'm like, okay,
Awesome.
cool. Like, that's fine. Just place for
I'm
those
down with
stories too.
Yeah.
Laura Kinney one is I have to grab that just because.
Yeah,
and
right.
Incredible Hulk is still on my poll, so
Oh, there you go.
that's me.
There you go. You still
about
reading
you?
Phoenix? Or are you off Phoenix?
I think I'm off Phoenix. Phoenix I thought was a 6-issue mini. So when I started
Oh,
pulling it, I was like, okay, 6 issues, it is what it is. The story
I
was
can do
pretty
it. Yeah.
good. And like I've read through 3 or 4 right now, and it's solid. Like it's a
Right.
good comic. But I don't know if I can commit to like after 6, I think, because that's usually what they collect. After 6, I'll probably cut it from the pull and let it go on its merry way
Yeah, yeah.
and grab the second volume whenever it shows up.
Nice. Yeah, from this I'm only getting Batman Santa Claus. Oh no, I'll probably get FML too. It's not on my pull list though. So we'll see. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be stopping down to Funky Town, pick up some books, and that's all I got. If you wanna, I mean, it's getting kind of late. I don't want to spend too long talking about Skeleton Crew, but we should probably talk about Skeleton Crew.
We should. Prior to that, I'm still trying to figure out. Have you ever asked Jesse where Funky Town came up, like where the name came from?
You know what? I did early on and I forgot.
Okay, we should probably do that sometime. I don't know. It just popped into my brain. It's like, this is a good idea.
We should have him on the show.
We've been trying to for years, and he just Sunday nights are rough for him.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've been talking
You,
about
but
it.
You've been trying for years. I have not been trying to get him on it once. I don't know.
Fair enough. We still got to get Jeff on to talk about Watchmen.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to figure things out. Go from there. If you would like to eventually find out when we are talking to our patron, I guess they're our patrons. Sponsors.
I don't know.
Hey, either way, there's something to do with patrons on Patreon. If you would like to give us money to see, various other recordings we do, or have some input on what the show's doing, check out patreon.com/the Multiverse Report. If you want to reach out to us on socials, reach out to us on the Multiverse Report on primarily Blue Sky or Threads at this point, because, well, the rest of them are going to the shitter or have been there for a bit.
We're still on Instagram too.
Yeah, Instagram's fine. It's fine. Beyond that, check us out, the Multiverse Report at gmail.com if you want to leave some sort of long form. And other than that, I think like, subscribe, let us know what you want to hear, and we're here.
Yeah, all that stuff. So Steve and I are going to talk about Skeleton Crew. So consider this your friendly neighborhood spoiler alert. We are about to launch into the new Star Wars show, Skeleton Crew, in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. I love this show.
Yes.
So far, I think it's great.
100%.
It's great.
It has it has exceeded any remote semblance of expectations that I had for it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I had, like, the expectations I had for the show.
Were you going in down on it?
No, it was just completely ambivalent. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, they're going to do some kitschy 80s take on whatever. And they did some kitschy 80s take on whatever, but they made it good.
But they all, like, I wouldn't say it's like, it's not like Stranger Things where it's like rooted in 80s nostalgia.
No, but there's enough, like, there's a lot of like ET throwback cinematography and like,
yeah, it feels like
music,
an Amblin movie. Like, it feels like Spielberg.
100% an Amblin movie.
They're trying to evoke that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, Michael Giacchino's son, like, did the score, and that's very much it. 100, like, you could take this score and put it on the Goonies and it would make sense.
Right. Yeah.
Which, I mean, we're effectively in Space Goonies from what I can gather.
Yeah. A lot of comparisons to Goonies.
And I'm not going to complain about that. No.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So, main character, they find a ship and they get trapped in it and it leaves. And there are literal skeletons on that ship and a droid skeleton voiced by Nick Frost.
Which was cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
That was. Did you get the droid's designation?
Yeah, Smee.
Yeah.
SM-33, like first mate, Smee from Captain Hook. Clever.
He said that. And I looked over to my wife, and she was like, or I was like, "Smee," and she's like, "What?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Smee." She's like, "What?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "God damn it."
Before we go any further, I want to make sure that we talk about this because I lost my mind when we saw the hologram circus performers from the Star Wars holiday special, made as if there was any question as to whether the holiday special was canon. Here we go. We're pulling in things from the worst Star Wars thing made ever. That was crazy, but amazing. What an Easter egg.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, there's nothing more to say about that. That was like,
nothing more
that
to
was
say.
Peak.
Just wow. Yeah, and perfectly used, not overdone, not like, hey, look at this.
Right,
It's
they
just,
didn't like
perfectly utilized.
randomly
Wasn't a
insert
distraction.
Lumpy or something.
Yeah. They didn't pause on it for like too long. You know,
it was just there, and if you caught it, you caught it. If you didn't, you didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't the first time I saw it. I did the second time because I screened it to make sure it was like. I was like, all right, they're calling it PG-ish, like TV PG, but I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my son can definitely watch this.
Yeah. What did he think? Has he watched it yet?
Yeah. He watched the first 2 episodes. He was all in.
Okay. Yeah. So did my son too. Yeah. He was there was a couple times where he was a little scared, but
yeah, he was never
intense.
He wasn't scared, but I think towards the end he was starting to get tired, so he did that kind of drifting out, not quite paying attention type thing.
Yeah. So did mine. Yeah.
Because we did the 2 back to back. I was like, buddy, you want to stay up a little later and watch the next one? He's like, yeah. And then by the end of it, he's just like,
no one's going to say.
No, where am I? Yeah. What's happening? Who am I?
Yeah.
I'm 7. Also, Neil. Neil is the greatest.
Great. Yeah. Everyone loves Neil.
I did not think an Ortolan would become my new favorite character in Star Wars. Wedge, move aside. Neil is the man. So
cool. And I love that. See, I tried really hard to remember everybody's name last week, and now I'm forgetting.
Wim?
Wim, Neil, KB, and
the other one.
That's who I want to talk about. Because I love that, like, she's like the Han Solo. She's like the gruff.
Oh yeah.
Take
gruff
no shit
exterior
character. Yeah, I thought that was awesome that they gave that to a girl, female character. Awesome. You and I have the same theory regarding the Jude Law character that was introduced at the end of episode 2 when they go, oh, that pirate spaceport looked awesome. That was a
amazing.
Cool design. Super cool. They're like landing on like big like ropes and stuff to like keep the ships there. Like that was such a cool visual. That's such a cool idea. And the Wolfman character coming back.
Yeah, the Stadman.
Cantina and A New Hope. Super cool.
No,
but yeah, you and I have. Sorry, go ahead.
So I'm gonna throw another one out there.
Okay.
That Pirate Bay is actually the Great Hall of the Nile from the High Republic. So the Nile were the big bads in the High Republic. They were a group of kind of marauders that had a headquarters called the Great Hall, and there's a lot of. It was kind of in, I guess, the unknown regions or whatever at the time. I'm thinking there might be a tie back there.
Oh, all right.
It would make sense. So I'm gonna hold my thoughts on, or hold on to that one just as we get farther into the series.
Cool. But yeah, you and I both had the idea that Jude Law's character is actually the pirate captain that we saw get mutinied in the beginning of the first episode.
Yeah. Which that like pirate captain
guy
is what made me think of the Nile, and then me think of ultimately of the Great Hall, because the mask he's wearing is very they all were wearing like masks to obscure their faces and whatnot. So
sure. Cool.
Yeah.
What I don't really have a theory on is why no one has heard of their planet.
At Aten?
They think it's a myth.
Yeah, I don't know.
At Aten. because for adult people to not only have never heard of it, but to think that it is a myth that doesn't exist,
Right.
then it must have disappeared a long time ago. It's not like it happened 2 years ago, you know?
No, that's
Because they're saying like that's a myth. They're not saying, oh, no one's heard from that planet in 2 years. They're
Right.
saying that planet doesn't exist. That's an old myth. So
I
we're
mean-
talking like we're talking probably pre-original trilogy.
to be fair.
We're talking like Clone Wars times.
To be fair, in the original trilogy, they forgot the Jedi existed 20 years
Probably.
later after. So the galaxy isn't known for long
Um,
memory spans here.
In the sequel trilogy, they forgot that the Jedis existed.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I can push back on that, but I don't want to take too much.
Rabbit hole we can go down, but you know,
I mean, really,
yes, I
the only
am
characters that didn't know the Jedi.
over-exaggerating, but
Okay,
yeah.
I started going into it, and you're.
I know
Thank you.
where you're going with it, and I agree with you. I just had to say something because, like,
Because I used to think that too. I used to be like, "What the? How do they not remember?" But now it makes sense to me. But I'm not going to go into it because I'm tired.
No, Ad Atten seems. I mean, is it something that? Because in the first episode, all the security and all the teachers and everything are droids, and it seems kind of weird, and
Yeah,
something definitely felt up with the planet they were on. Like, there's
well,
nothing,
they keep talking about the barrier. There's a barrier.
yeah,
Don't go out past the barrier. Past the barrier. They'd never seen a starship before because no one comes in through the barrier.
right. When they saw the stars,
like-
when they got through the barrier, they were like,
Yes, they didn't know what stars were exactly.
Right.
I
I think they're planets.
Yeah. So my guess, and I know I started this by saying I didn't have a guess, but then I kind of remembered something that I thought throughout the week.
I have no guess.
Um,
Here it is.
Is it possible that I feel like they hid themselves?
During the Galactic Civil War or something?
Possibly, yeah, during the Clone Wars, to like not have to take a side or just to stay out of the involvement
Right.
with the war. That's my guess.
Yeah, I could see that
And
working.
I don't know why they think the planet has like untold riches. Maybe they do have untold because we've seen one neighborhood of that planet, so we don't know what else they got going on there. But
I mean,
but yeah, just the fact that like
what's his face? Wim had enough High Republic credit or Old Republic credits on him to like make the entire place go nuts. So
right,
I mean,
and they
there's something
specified
there.
that they were Old Republic credits. Yeah. So that's why they have to have been around. It's got to be pre-original trilogy. It's got to be Clone Wars times at least.
Yeah.
If not before. So that's my guess, is that they hid themselves in order to stay safe from the raging Clone Wars. And I guess we'll see. Yeah, because you were saying they also have like those guards that are like, stay out of the woods. You're in the wrong zone.
Right.
Seems like a heavily policed planet. So interesting. I'm excited to see where it goes. It's an interesting be like, because before they dropped the thing about the planet not existing or not being believed to exist, I was like, there's a million times in Star Wars where they just like pull up a star chart and figure out where they're going. Like, how can a droid not do this? Like, how can a droid not just turn right around and go home? Like, that doesn't
Right.
make sense. But so now only they are giving it a good reason why it's not easy for them to get home. They're also using that reason as a way to deepen the mystery of the show, which is cool. So 2 birds, 1 stone. Skeleton Crew, loving it.
Definitely.
Loving it. Excited to see where it goes. And that's all I have to say about that, Steve. I think we're done. Are you done? Do you have any other Skeleton Crew thoughts?
I am done, sir.
Okay. Well then, thanks for listening. You should do all those things that Steve said earlier. Subscribe to us on all the things. Send us an email if you need us. We are on Instagram and Blue Sky and Threads. And make sure to go see Steve and the Lion King this Friday. Singing
I
his
will
lungs
be
out.
in the building. I will not be singing. You want me to play a bastune?
And that's it.
I gotcha. You want me to sing? No chance in hell.
I don't know. Maybe that's what the Patreons are going to want.
Oh, there you
We're
go.
going to get a big Patreon following, and they're going to demand you sing a song.
Okay. You pay me money, sure. What the hell?
You heard him, folks. You heard him, folks. It's on the table. It's on the
There
table.
you go.
But we're exhausted, so we're going to say goodnight. So as the two suns set over the burnt corpses of Owen and Brew Lars, we say thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the multiverse.